in Barrow led me to question those beliefs, like why did I feel ashamed? Why did I feel embarrassed? Why did I want to get rid of my roots, right? Which is a big turning point in my life. And to this day, that's still what I do. It's what I do personally and professionally today, is trying to better understand that. So that's one. And then the other way another example is that Barrow took me in. The people of Barrow took me in. I was not the best adjusted kid in the world at that point. I was not getting along well with my father and his family. And, I did not see it this way back then, but I was homeless. I was homeless as a teenager because I really was running away. And I was sleeping in people's couches and people's floors.
So you were literally homeless.
But I didn't think of it that way. I didn't see myself as homeless, right? But that's what I was doing. I was sleeping in people's floors and couches for extended periods of time because I would run away from home. And people in Barrow, took me in, gave me a warm place to spend the night in, and that's very important in Barrow. So shout out to, especially to the Harcharks. They were the ones who took me in big time. Yeah.
At what times did you feel included in the community?
I think because I played basketball.
That would do it.
Yeah, I think because I played basketball, that made it easier for me to be accepted by the community, because not only did it give me visibility, because the whole community would watch the games and they would see that I'm there, and I did okay, I did pretty good, and so the community liked me. If I sucked, that would have been a different story. So I think. Yeah, so I really felt welcomed by the community. There's even to this day, there's nothing like playing basketball for the Bear Whalers. I mean, the home games are rocking.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Yeah.
I played in band.
Oh, so about the home games.
So I know. I know. And then I tried to do cheerleading one year, but but still, it was still fun. Just to be there, because that's where everybody is. Everybody's at the games.
Yeah. I wanted to be a cheerleader too.
You do?
I did.
No way.
No, I did. But because I was on the varsity, I was thinking of just doing the cheerleading during the JV games.
Oh, okay.
Right, and then have to suit up. Yeah, have to suit up for the varsity games. But
cool.
Yeah, my coach didn't think it was a good idea. So.
And were there times when you felt maybe excluded?
Sure. I mean, there are times when not necessarily from the Native community. I think the Native community has really welcomed me. Some of my very best friends are Native, and their family welcomed me. Shout out to the Nagayak family. Pamyak was one of my brothers. Anyway, so excluded not from the Native community, but I've experienced discrimination, from other folks in Barrow. I remember one time I was working at AC. One of my after school jobs was working at AC, and it was the old AC. Yeah, it was the old AC. And me and my cousin, we were both stalkers, so we would be stalking canned goods or whatever. Then, I don't know, there's just this one white dude that came in, and he was, I don't know, maybe he's had something to drink or something, but he wasn't completely there. But he was creating a scene. He was doing something. And my cousin and I were just doing our job. We were just stalking, and this dude was yelling stuff. And for some reason, me and my cousin caught his attention. And he started yelling stuff at us, and saying things like, you Filipinos, you guys come here and you take all the effing jobs and blah, 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 blah. So, those kinds of experiences. That one was particularly memorable for me because it was so public. I've experienced several, but that one was so public in front of a lot of different people. and it made me feel some kind of way.
Yeah, I mean that's hard if it's in front of other people and someone's treating you bad. It's I mean, it definitely would have an impression or leave an impression on you.
And I was like 15 or 16 years old at that time. So yeah,
that's terrible. I think that I don't know why or what it is, but it seems to be the cultural similarities between Native people and like Filipinos or Tongans or Samoans is easier be buddy than I've seen like with white people moving into Barrow. And I don't know why. Even like when I went to school down south, so I went to university in Arizona, and I had a hard time making white friends. I just felt a little bit like a disconnect,
Yeah.
And I think it's because like when you grow up in Barrow, which is mostly an Inupiaq community, and the white people are the minority there.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
I have the same similar experiences. At least I just find it more like easier to connect with other people of color. But but that wasn't always the case for me, though. I mean, there was a case. I actually was in Barrow when it was, when I still had this super colonized mind, and I just really wanted to be as American as I can. And to me, my idea of American is white. Person, white people. And in Barrow, actually, I got to a point where, my best friends were white. And whenever I would run away, I would run to their home and I would stay in their home. And they're just this amazing family. Seriously, I have nothing bad to say about them. But I remember thinking to myself, why can't this be my family? Because to me, they were like my ideal, American family, and I just wanted to be them. And it wasn't until later when I started questioning like why did I put the white ideal and the white standard as the standard that I have to live up to,
like the aspiration.
Like the aspiration. So it wasn't until later that I started asking those questions. Yeah,
and that influences a lot of the work that you do
now.
Yeah.
And it's now it's again, as a Filipino immigrant, especially in Alaska, with Filipinos being the largest immigrant group in the state. Actually, IU, IU, right?
Yeah.
So IU told me, you know what? I understand what you mean when you say that Filipinos are the largest immigrant group in the state, but really it's wrong because white people are the largest immigrant group.
Yes, I love it.
So now I'm going to say, I know. So now I'm going to say Filipinos are the second largest immigrant group in the state of Alaska after white folks. But anyway, unlike other states where whenever we talk about, immigrant groups, people always think about like the Mexican population. Alaska is unique in that our largest immigrant group, besides white people, are Filipinos.
Yeah.
And, and I think as a Filipino immigrant in Alaska, I think, and my community, I think we have that responsibility to make sure that, we don't contribute to just the further erasure of indigenous peoples here. I think in many ways, because we are the largest immigrant group, we need to take the lead in making sure that we acknowledge that these are indigenous lands and that we work with the indigenous peoples here. To build these connections, to build these relationships. Because otherwise. We will be in danger of just being complicit in, continued, white domination of Alaska. And I don't know if I can live with that, if that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you have wished to see more of growing up?
Growing up in Barrow, Barrow is unique in many ways. As a rural Alaskan place, it is unique in many ways in that, even the educational system in Barrow is very different. Like right now, there's the Quaq learning framework, and even, back when I was growing up, way back in the days, I was fortunate enough to be able to take like Quaq courses, where I learned a few words here and there, and we were able to create some things like gloves and a few things. Like I learned those things, and I was exposed to those things, which is great.
Yeah, it's just cool.
And I don't think many places in rural Alaska are as lucky to have those kinds of classes in their curriculum. Mm-hmm. And so I feel very fortunate that I was exposed to those things. But one thing that I think I would like now, like looking back, a little bit like deeper understanding of the history, including the painful history of Native peoples in Alaska, because it wasn't until I got to college, and again, very few of us are even fortunate enough to get to college, to be able to attend college. And for me, it wasn't until I got to college that I began learning about, the painful histories of Native folks, and I think we need that. I think we need that. As we were talking about earlier, that's probably one of the bigger circles that connects many of us, is, our experiences of colonialism and our experiences of oppression. As unfortunate as that is, that's one of our biggest commonalities, that's the reality. Mm-hmm. And if you erase that, those commonalities, then it kind of really divides us up, and it makes us forget how connected we truly, really are. And so I think I would have really appreciated if I learned that earlier.
Well, that would require too that we learn even the history of colonization in other places like the Philippines as well. Mm-hmm. So
oh yeah, American history as taught in schools is super incomplete.
I know, it's terrible. Yeah. Even just as recent as my, schooling at, Barrow, that Alaska Studies was like a joke, that class was like, we didn't learn it. We watched Dances with Wolves. Like that was our, like.
For Alaska Studies?
Yeah, for Alaska Studies. I couldn't believe it. But I have an episode coming up on that too, as well, is the Alaska Native Education System and like, culturally relevant curriculum and stuff like that. And so I'm excited to talk to somebody about that. Hopefully Tennessee Judkins.
If we still have money.
If
we're still supported by the state.
Too soon.
Too soon. Actually, yes, it cannot be any sooner. It's live right now.
Oh my gosh. I was so depressed about it this morning, and I was like, you know what? I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. And
I was in Wasilla this morning.
Oh no. Yeah. You were? How was it? Yeah. Like, were they there?
Uneventful. 5 of them.
5. So some had probably gone to Juneau, or
I think there were a couple who went to Juneau.
Okay.
And then the others just weren't there.
Yikes, man.
Yeah.
What a show.
It is.
I can't even believe it. It's just, it's like one thing after the other, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's so hard to be like
you cannot,
this position.
No, you cannot. Sorry. Is that my phone again? My phone's going wild.
Yeah, I think so.
No, it's hard to survive, let alone thrive, on a place where your leaders aren't even supporting you, or when the soil, when the ground is unstable, when the foundation is unstable, how are you supposed to survive and thrive on that when you're just so busy trying to stay up? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, because even just the other day, I was like, I can't believe I got to go protest it. Buddy, I have a podcast interview that I wanted to do that day, but all of a sudden we got to go to the rally, which is great, but it sucks for us. It's sucking the energy. It's sucking, some of the things that we could be doing to better ourselves. And it's...
No, the bar has been set so low, right? It's ridiculous that we even have to protest and rally and ask for what we thought were just basic human rights.
Right.
Yeah.
So devastating. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to just worry about what I have control over right now. Like, I've done all that I can for this, and then I just need to keep, basic needs right now instead of trying to get like caught up in a